Now, this doesn't mean that you can't have simple carbohydrates or refined carbohydrates in your diet. However, it just means that you should be more mindful in your consumption of them. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Elaine. Welcome. I'm a future health coach, a fitness enthusiast, and an activewear lover. Today we are going into the third part of my macronutrients series. We're talking about carbohydrates today, their functions, what types of carbohydrates they are, and I am answering one of my more commonly asked questions besides do fats make you fat? I'm answering the question, do carbohydrates make you fat? I know that there has been a lot of interesting dietary trends going on between like the keto diet and low carb. So there have been a lot of questions about whether carbs cause you to get fat. Everything will be time-stamped in this video so that you can pop over to the section that most interests you. If you're looking for ways to support me, pop over to my website, www.fitnessbeyondaesthetics.com, for all my merch, my discounts, my Amazon finds, and anything else that you would like to know. I am transitioning into the second component of my health coaching certification, and I will be working with clients soon, so keep an eye out for that. When my waitlist is posted, I will notify you guys in my YouTube community tab as well as my Instagram, so make sure to follow me on my Instagram, which is the exact same handle as my YouTube name, Elaine Flex, as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you do not miss any announcements from me. And before we get started, of course, a disclaimer that I am not your doctor, I'm not your dietitian, I'm not your nutritionist, and this video is just for informational purposes only. Please make sure that you are following any advice given by those bodies that I mentioned prior to, and use my information as supplemental information to help increase your health knowledge and or to better your life in some way, shape, or form. But the information in this video does not supersede any guidance you've received from a professional doctor, nutritionist, dietitian, or even your personal trainer. Now, without further ado, let's learn about carbohydrates and all of their goodness. All right, so let's get straight into it. Carbohydrates are the main source of energy that most of us use in our body. They are a very quick form of energy for our body, and that's their main function. However, carbohydrates also have fiber, which can help slow digestion, slow absorption. Carbohydrates also contain vitamins and minerals that play important roles in our cellular day-to-day functions, and having fiber in your diet can help with heart health as well as maintaining a healthy weight. The recommended daily intake of carbohydrates fluctuates between countries and just where you live and what your cultural practices are even. However, the kind of like the general recommendation is anywhere from 45% to 65% of your daily intake of food, your daily intake of calories, your macronutrients coming from carbohydrates. However, that is a very general and a very broad recommendation because not every individual needs this amount of carbohydrates to have a good health status. When it comes to carbohydrates, your intake is very bio-individual, meaning that you are going to have to experiment with the amount of carbohydrates in your diet to see what works for you and what makes you feel good. Some people feel much better on a very high carb diet. You'll find a lot of athletes will have higher carb diets, and some people feel great on lower carb diets. This is why, the keto diet as well as other forms of low carb diets have still persisted and are still popular to this day. Me personally, I eat a carbohydrate intake from anywhere from 20% to 30% of my diet. I feel really good at that. All of my blood tests have come back great, and I still maintain a very good health status despite consuming a little less than the recommended daily intake. So it is all up to you to figure out what works for you and your life. So there are three types of carbohydrates. There are simple carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, and refined carbohydrates. Our simple carbohydrates are the carbohydrates that only have 1 or 2 sugars to them. They are very easy for our system to digest, and when we do consume simple carbohydrates, our blood sugar usually spikes very quickly because they are being used as energy sources, usually right away because they're so easily broken down. Our sources of simple carbohydrates include sugar, which is in the form of glucose. We have dairy products, which contain lactose, which some people are intolerant to and or allergic to. We also have fruit, which contains fructose. And we have honey and other forms of sugar, such as molasses, agave syrup. Those are all simple sugars, meaning that when you intake them, they give you energy right away, but at the same time, they also cause a quick blood sugar spike, usually. Now, I just want to touch on fruits quickly. So even though fruits contain fructose, which is, a simple sugar, fruits also contain fiber. And what fiber does is that because fiber helps slow down digestion and slow down absorption, it actually reduces the impact of fruit on our system. So when we consume fruit, we usually do not feel this big spike in blood sugar that we would feel if we were to, let's say, consume honey or some other form of processed foods that use a lot of simple sugars. So fruits also contain vitamins, minerals, antioxidants that can benefit your body. So when I say that fruits are simple sugar, that does not mean that you should cut them out of your diet. It is just information. Consume the fruit that makes you feel good, consume the fruit that you enjoy, and incorporate it into your life. There should be no fear around fruits. Our complex carbohydrates are the carbohydrates that contain large chains of sugars all put together. And as a result of the size of the complex carbohydrates, they are slower to digest in our system, meaning that you do not get as much of a blood sugar spike. And when you consume complex carbohydrates, you are less likely to feel sluggish after or feel like your energy has crashed very shortly after consuming the complex carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates contain our starches and our fiber. So this would include any whole grains such as your quinoa or your brown rice, your vegetables, your beans, and your legumes. These would all fall under the complex carbohydrate category. And these are the carbohydrates that you want to add more of into your diet because they do not lead to as much blood sugar change and blood sugar fluctuation as your simple sugars. One benefit of including more complex carbohydrates into your diet is that complex carbohydrates can actually help with weight maintenance or weight loss because complex carbohydrates have that fiber component, and fiber can actually make you feel more full, which increases your satiety and makes it easier to adhere to any dietary protocol or any diet, any lifestyle changes, any dietary modifications that you have decided to make for the benefit of your long-term health. So including more complex carbohydrates in your diet and including more fruits, vegetables, and food that have a higher fiber content can actually help you in your weight loss, weight gain, or weight maintenance journey. And our third type of carbohydrate are refined carbohydrates. Now, when we look at a whole grain, it has three layers, which are the bran, which is the outer layer, the endosperm, and the germ. Now, when we have a refined carbohydrate, we actually remove the bran and the germ. Unfortunately, the bran and the germ are where all of our fiber, our minerals, our antioxidants, and our vitamins are. So you are just left with the endosperm, which is the refined carbohydrate that you're consuming. It is the white component of the whole grain. And unfortunately, when you remove the fiber, the vitamins, the minerals, the antioxidants, refined grains do cause a bigger spike in your blood sugar levels. So if, let's say, you consume white pasta or you consume white rice, you may feel hungrier in a shorter amount of time after consuming it than you would brown rice or any other whole grain that has all of its components and all of its fiber and all of its nutrients intact. Now, some of you might be wondering, okay, so what are the bad carbohydrates? Well, there is no food out there that's actually bad, and I do not like to put words such as good or bad to food because it can lead to a negative relationship with food, which a lot of people have been struggling with, especially in the pandemic. However, when it comes to refined carbohydrates and simple carbohydrates, it is best practice to just mindfully consume them because these carbohydrates can lead to very big blood sugar fluctuations. And if you're wondering, okay, so what does that mean? Well, when you're having a lot of blood sugar fluctuations and you are consistently over consuming fine carbohydrates and simple carbohydrates, this can make you more predisposed to chronic diseases such as diabetes, prediabetes, or diabetes. You can have increased risk of chronic inflammation as well as increased risk of certain heart diseases. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't have simple carbohydrates or refined carbohydrates in your diet. However, it just means that you should be more mindful in your consumption of them and focus more on adding complex carbohydrates to your diet, because consuming more complex carbohydrates will keep you fuller for longer, and it will help with the cravings that you have for the more refined carbohydrates and the simple carbohydrates as well. Now, if you're someone who struggles with overconsumption of simple carbohydrates, especially in the form of sugar or honey, molasses, whatever type of sugar that you feel is your vice, you can look into adding natural sweeteners to your diet, such as stevia and monk fruit. Now, they are classified as an artificial sweetener. However, they are plant-derived sweeteners, so people do usually tend to tolerate them a little bit better. However, you've got to consume them and see if it works for your system. And when I say it works for your system, it's not causing any bloating, any inflammation, any diarrhea, any signs that your system just is not agreeing with that type of sweetener. But these sweeteners can help you in reducing your consumption of simple carbohydrates if you find that sugar is really just one of those things that you really struggle to reduce your intake of. Now, I want to go into the question, do carbohydrates make you fat? Now, if you've watched my Macronutrients 101 on fats, which I will link up here, you would have already heard me say that there is no single macronutrients that makes you gain weight. There just isn't. No macronutrient by itself is going to cause you to gain weight. It is the overconsumption of a macronutrient or all the macronutrients together, which is the more common one, that results in weight gain. Now, when you do consume carbohydrates naturally cause us to hold water. So when you consume carbohydrates, especially if you're someone who's been on a low carb dietary protocol for a long time, you might see your weight increase, but that is not due to fat gain. That is just because your body is retaining water, and it is extremely normal. That does not mean that carbs are fattening. That just means that your carbohydrates are holding more water, your body is holding more water, and there is nothing wrong with that. So when it comes to, do carbs make you fat? No, they do not. No, there's no macronutrient that makes you fat. Now, overconsumption of refined carbohydrates, especially in our processed foods, so overconsuming flour that is used in a lot of baked goods per se, can increase your risk of obesity, but it does not by itself inherently make you gain weight. So I hope that does make a little bit more sense. At the end of the day, it is the fact that you are over consuming your food in general. You're over consuming all of the macronutrients in general, meaning that you are consuming more calories than you are burning off during the day. Therefore, you will be in a calorie surplus or macronutrient surplus, and you will end up eventually down the line gaining weight. You made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your favorite source of carbohydrates is. For me, my favorite carb-ish snack is popcorn, like the 100-calorie bags of popcorn. Absolutely love it. I'm also really in love with potatoes right now, and the occasional sweet potato as well. If you found this useful, make sure to give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, pop over to my Instagram and give me a follow over there as well. If you're looking for ways to support me, pop over to my website, www.fitnessbeyondaesthetics.com. That is where you'll find all my merch, like my cute ass cell phone case that says Thick and Thriving, as well as my discount codes, my Amazon finds, the charities that I'm supporting with my affiliate commissions, and anything else that you would like to know. Just keep in mind that I am going to be starting taking on, at least interviewing clients for my one-on-one coaching coming up within the next month or so, sometime in May, end of May. So keep an eye out for my waitlist. Make sure to subscribe to any of my platforms so that you are kept in the loop, or you can join my email list, which is linked in the description box below for that update. Always remember that your mindset is everything. Watch the other videos on the screen, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.